what's up? I'm Patrick Jagir, the Cosmic Alchemist. Welcome to my August 2019 astrological forecast. So, we're living in some very interesting times and some very intense times, and August is no exception. So my theme for the coming month of August 2019, is the fear factor. So fear plays a prominent role because everyone's feeling it right now. You know, they feel like a lot of things are up for grab right now, and a lot of people feel like their world is in a balance and that, you know, the next year or several years is going to make or break it. And the thing with fear is that the root of it is a lack of knowledge and a lack of awareness. Either we lack self-knowledge or self-awareness, or knowledge of people that we're dealing with, or the situations and the environment that we're in. Once we have more knowledge, fear can really dissolve, you know, and it neutralizes. It doesn't have any power over us anymore. So that's the simultaneous challenge and opportunity in this month. So it's not all negativity, it's not all fear, it's not doom and gloom. It's basically a reminder that, you know, we can have a really good world and a really good life, but we're going to have to put energy into it. We're going to have to increase our self-knowledge and, you know, our real knowledge of the world around us, not just what's spoon-fed to us. You know, we have to go out and get the real knowledge. So this requires some effort. This requires more effort than, you know, voting for the right party and joining the right club and watching the right news network and just speaking back what we heard. You know, this actually requires us to know ourselves and, you know, to mix it up with different people and get to know different people and really learn who different people really are, especially people who don't tell us what we want to hear all the time, who might disagree with us. So let's get into the summary of this. I'll walk you through that. Then we'll get into the, you know, the specifics. So, and you'll have to excuse me, I've had a cold for the last few days, even though it's middle of summer. So, you know, excuse me, and I might have to clear my throat once in a while, but that's how it works sometimes. So, again, August is a month where, you know, our fears will really have sort of center stage. You know, it'll occupy center stage, and it'll be something that keeps coming to mind. And there's a feeling out there. People have a feeling that, you know, something's about to break down or something's going to give. And, you know, again, this goes back to not having all the information. And so, you know, really, a big thing in the world is that, you know, we live in the information age and we have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had before. But the thing that we don't stop to think about is how good is that information and how good is that source of information that we're getting it from. People have been scratching the surface of this because lately here in the United States, you know, people have been saying certain media outlets are unworthy or unreliable, you know, and, you know, the left in this country has their idea of fake news, and then the Trump supporters have their idea of fake news, and they each accuse each other's information sources of being fake news. So it's not that simple. It's not as simple as just joining a club and following all their rules, and if you do that, then you have the correct information. It's not that simple. You know, really, coming out of the age of Pisces, you know, the age of Pisces is, you know, it's the age of deceit. You know, it's really an age of lies where people are manipulated with lies by a handful of people. So that's just something that we have to face the facts about, and it's really frightening us. And so that leads me into my next topic here in this summary, and that, you know, ideological extremism is mainstream right now. And, you know, this is because people are, you know, they're afraid. You know, fanaticism is always about fear. You know, you take terrorists, you know, those people really, an ideological extremist, you know, of a religious persuasion, they're afraid that what they believe in might not be real. So they're going to go out and fight and blow up anyone who disagrees with it, because really deep down their belief is that fragile. So, and there's a spectrum to this. Not everyone's a terrorist, but, you know, some people just dig their heels in about, believing things are one way and they won't see another side to it. So fanaticism gets its roots from fear. Fear is the root of fanaticism and extremism. So, this goes back to the secondhand information here, because I think, people are talking right now about they want the truth about X, Y, and Z. Everybody on every side of every issue is saying that they want the truth and they want to be told the truth. But there's a fear in this, because everybody fears that they may have been wrong all the time and they may have been getting lied to from day one by the people that they think have been honest to them. So this is causing a lot of fear for us right now. And rightfully so. It's not just the media, it's even education too. Universities are full of, professors who have no direct experience with what they teach. I've known a business professor who was a financial disaster, who couldn't, manage money at all. So, and these people, they teach people subjects. They teach students subjects like they're authorities, like they have firsthand knowledge. This is in every field. This is in political science. There are even law professors who practice little law, and it just goes on and on and on. So what we have to take into account here is that the people who've been feeding us information through our whole lives often don't have firsthand knowledge of the issues, and therefore we don't, because we're getting our information from people who don't have firsthand information themselves. Some people in the world, I've met some of them. I've been, in situations where, I was part of events, that made the news. But, my knowledge is very limited because I only know what I know. So, there are people out there who have firsthand information of events and issues, but, really they're few and far between, and most of us just have to get our information secondhand. But an interesting point here is that a lot of people right now, you look around, especially you get into like the kind of really the fringes of the alternative media, where people are always talking about, Satanists and Satan rules the world, and everything's run by Satanists. It's like, well, there are definitely secret societies in this world, and a lot of people in charge in this world are not nice people. They're not good people. But people take this a little far, and this is one of these expressions of, this ideological extremism. People are projecting their fear out onto the world, and, everywhere they turn, they see Satanists. So, and it's religious extremism, because, really, Christianity created this whole Satan versus God thing, because really the word Satan is just, it's ancient Persian for Saturn, the planet Saturn, because Saturn is the adversary. And really the way the word adversary was meant was like almost like a prosecutor. It was someone who took a counterpoint in a debate, so really a devil's advocate. So this whole concept of Satan has really been taken out of context. I could do a whole video on that for about 2 hours, but but again, people are seeing the worst case scenarios everywhere, and that's a big thing in the United States too, politically. One side accuses the other side. The left accuses the right of being Nazis and running concentration camps, and they're going to be the Fourth Reich. And then the right accuses the left of being communists, and they're going to revive the Soviet Union. And there's some grains of truth to that, but they're seeing overblown worst case scenarios, because again, that's what's being fed to us through the media, because the media is always giving us the worst case scenarios. So I'm definitely getting bogged down in this stuff. So the last thing about fear here is that it's running the world right now, because people's perceptions are skewed by it. So really the homework here is that see what you're fearful of. And, if you're human right now and you don't think you're feeling fear about something, then think again. Go back and find it. I guarantee it's in there. You're human. You're afraid of something. I used to do this. I used to have a mindset where, I needed to be invincible at all times, but that's just not real. Human beings are durable, but they're fragile too. And, nobody's invulnerable. So we have to own that. And that way we can let the fear go and keep it from controlling us. So what's the solution to all this? So I've laid out the fear. What's the solution? How do we get past this? So Course in Miracles talks about how the two fundamental emotions are fear and love. So when I say love, I'm not talking about sticky, syrupy, sappy, Hallmark romantic love. What I'm talking about is appreciating the value of other people. If you've ever done yoga before, if you've ever had any exposure to, Indian culture, Vedic culture, there's this blessing, namaste, and it basically means I recognize the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. So that's love. So it's when you see another human being, you recognize that other person has a soul just like you do. And, you can't demonize people and, dehumanize them just because they belong to some different political club or they cheer for a different sports team or something. You have to have that level of love for people. Otherwise, you live in fear. So, and that's at the root of a lot of our problems right now, just not here in the States, but in the world in general. So that's the homework for everyone, for me, for everyone. We have to do this. We have to get better about doing this. That's the way out of this fear. And like I said in previous forecasts, there's a lot of potential for some tragic events to happen from now till the end of the year and into 2020. So if we don't want this to happen, this is what we have to do. We need to learn how to love ourselves and the people around us because we're all divine. We all have a soul. We all have a part of the divine in us. So another thing that happens too here is that fear blocks your intuition. It blocks that inner divinity, that inner knowing. Because all that stuff comes from love. You're always going to have your emotions, but the whole idea, the whole new age idea of just being blissed out all the time and just having no fear, no anger, no sadness, and no worry, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's like a lot of kids in and I lived in Colorado. There's like a lot of kids in Boulder and Portland, Oregon, thinking they can just trip balls and that's going to give them enlightenment and they're going to become, gods if they do this and they're going to be above all human emotions. Well, that's not it. You're always going to have your emotions, but you can always bring yourself back to this place of love where you appreciate the divine in other people and you don't dehumanize and demonize them. So it's not easy. It's not easy because, we have legitimate gripes with people and we experience traumas, but, life on earth is not meant to be easy. It's a challenge. We're in school here. So this is one of the central lessons. So let's get to it. So again, understanding, knowledge, understand your fear. I practice this myself and I encourage you, wade into your fear. Don't dispel it, don't chase it away, don't banish it, because when you banish your fear, you're repressing it. You're bottling it up and the pressure's building. You're setting yourself up for a breakdown sometime down the road, physical, mental, emotional, or, all of the above or a combination. So wade into your fear so you can understand it and so you can integrate it into yourself, because when you understand it, when you let it be part of you, you neutralize it. You become wise from it. It's a lesson. You realize and you remember this situation where you didn't have enough information about yourself, about somebody else, or about a situation. You had this completely skewed perspective that caused all kinds of fear, and you were creating all these worst case scenarios in your head, and none of them turned out to be true. So understand your fear and, just own it, and it dissolves and it loses its power. That's really the key here. I don't think banishing fear is that great a thing, because it's like a boomerang. It just keeps coming back. And like I said, you're not invincible. You're not invulnerable. So own that. You can be stronger. You can be wiser. You won't be ruled by your fear. So another big part of this too is that we need to have faith in the goodness of ourselves and the world around us. And, a big part of this lesson too is that, remember that the world, other people, especially the people you don't like, the world shows you who you are and what's inside of you, and it shows you what you need to resolve and what you need to heal. A lot of people don't like hearing this, but that's just the fact. So, to summarize my summary, remember, have faith in the goodness of yourself and other people. Even if people don't look too good, you know what I mean? Even if they don't agree with you, you don't agree with them, they don't tell you what you want to hear. See past that, see that they're human just like you. And, remember to come from that place of love where you appreciate that other people have a soul just like you do. They have divine in them just like you do too. So, and again, improve yourself, increase your self-knowledge, increase your knowledge of the world. Really seek out good information, and this fear doesn't have to control us. So getting in the specifics of this forecast. So one thing you've been hearing me talk about for months now is this conjunction of Saturn and Ketu in Sagittarius, and Pluto is also in the mix. So, again, Ketu and Sagittarius, they rule fear. And Sagittarius rules the truth. And so, Ketu and Sagittarius this whole month, they're going to be really close. They're either going to be at the same degree, or they're going to be within 1 degree of each other. So they're right on top of each other. And they're helping us cut down old belief systems that don't serve us anymore. And they're helping us to reinvent new ones. And since Sagittarius is the truth, they're helping us to cut down, misperceptions and faulty perceptions that we've had that are not truthful. And they're helping us to find the real truth. And so, another thing is here though, when you take Ketu and Sagittarius on its own, it's religious extremism, it's ideological extremism. So that's why the world is so polarized right now, especially, in the United States and the Western world. There's this heated left versus right thing going on, and there's even, religious people too. It's a particular religion versus everyone else who they consider to not know the truth and to be, heretics and, to kind of be stupid. So, what's going on in the heavens, it's reflecting this. It's all connected. And, with all this ideological extremism with Ketu and Sagittarius, like I said this in the summary, mass media is really fanning the flames here. And, what it does is it gives us enough information to where we can kind of have basic conversations with people, once we've watched the news, but it leaves out enough information to where we're still guessing. And so then we get fearful because we don't have the whole picture. And then they're pointing out all the worst case scenarios that can happen too. So it's just really feeding the fear. And, like I said, universities, your education's a lot like this too, because, most times we're taught by people who don't have direct experience with what they're teaching about. So, media and even education and a combination of it, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but really it makes dilettantes of us, because we've spent time accumulating all this secondhand information, but we've never dealt with the issues and events going on firsthand. So we're experts in our own minds. We consider ourselves experts when we have no firsthand knowledge. But we put the people who give us this information, or the companies who give us this information, or institutions, up on a pedestal. So, but it fans the flames, because we have just enough information, whether we're talking about education or news media, we have just enough information to be dangerous to ourselves. We have enough information to scare the shit out of ourselves, because we only have this tiny little sliver of the picture. We don't have the full picture. I'm not saying I have the full picture, but what I have is I realize I don't have the full picture, and I'm open to new information. And people talk about being positive in the New Age and the spiritual community. Positive is all about being receptive. Something that's electromagnetically positively charged can receive things. So you have to be receptive in order to be positive. Again, it's not just about being in the right club and saying that the other club is wrong. So, we sort of have this dilettante thing going, and we scare the shit out of ourselves because we think we're experts. And, we're telling ourselves that, like, the sky's falling, or the sky's going to fall in 12 years, or, in 1 year, whatever the case is. So, we need to be mindful of this, because this is what's scaring us. We're scaring ourselves. We're being encouraged to do it. So that's what this whole Saturn and Ketu conjunct in Sagittarius is all about. It's about this extremism from not having all the information, and from having this fear that we've been wrong the whole time, or we've been lied to the whole time, or a combination of the two. And then you've got Pluto in the mix too, also very close in Sagittarius to Saturn and Ketu. So Pluto's the god of the underworld, and he's making us deal with feelings and issues and information that we haven't wanted to deal with in a long time. So we're feeling a lot of this fear and a lot of this anger that comes from extremism. So the next thing I want to get into is the sign of Leo. So in the constellation Leo, in the group of stars that we call Leo, is the fixed star Regulus. So Regulus is called the heart of the lion. So the heart of the lion, think about Aslan from Chronicles of Narnia, for example, Lion King, so on and so on. The heart of the lion symbolizes courage, love, integrity, loyalty, and leadership. And we have 4 planets pretty close to each other, all in Leo during August, especially in the second half of August, I should say. So second half of August, we have Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So all in Leo. And so, one of the big things this is bringing up is issues of leadership and integrity of leaders, because the Sun is all about royalty and leaders and leadership and government. And then, Leo is all about government, politics, leadership, royalty. And everybody has royals. Even if you have representative government, you still have a king or a queen. It's just the head of the state, your president, your prime minister, they're figureheads. So anyway, all these planets in Leo, so Sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, it's going to bring out issues of leaders and leadership, and how much integrity do they really have? And so, again, remember that the people around us and the world around us, it's a mirror. It reflects what's inside of us. It reflects where we're off balance, and the parts of ourselves that need to be improved and resolved and healed. And like I said, especially the people that you don't like, the people you find disgusting, or people you think are liars or intolerant or bigots, they're showing you something about yourself. They're showing me things about myself. So that's something to think about this month, because we can either just keep getting fearful, and then we can bring this all to a violent situation, or we can be mindful of this, and we can take a step back and say, you know what? That person that offends me that doesn't have the politics that I think are correct, are showing me something about myself where I'm intolerant, where I'm rigid, where I might be bigoted. So there's a lot of stories coming out about leadership, not just political leadership, but people in finance, people in the religious world. There's always something coming out about the Catholic Church. This Jeffrey Epstein is huge. He was this big elite billionaire financier. People looked up to him. They just thought he was a great guy because he had a bunch of money, because he had a great education. Not the case. So, and big thing here is nobody's party is going to be spared. These stories about leaders not having integrity, not having loyalty, not being true of heart, they're going to keep rolling through the rest of the year into next year. So stay tuned. Nobody's party will be spared, mark my word. People want to just, people in either party want to just say, oh, well, that other party's so corrupt, those bastards. Well, it's both of them. It's all of them. So you watch. So, and again, this is Age of Pisces stuff. We're shaking off the Age of Pisces because we've started Aquarius, and Pisces is, Leo King coined this term, the Age of Deception. I keep saying this in this video, but we have to understand this. The Age of Pisces was all about a few people manipulating all of us through lies, through, encouraging us to develop false perceptions that we could build our whole worldview on. So another thing here in Leo is that Venus is combust. It's going to be combust into September. So this is all about relationship issues. So, the thing with relationship issues here is that they're going to come to the surface so that they can be healed. So, it's in our romantic relationships, but also just, in our friendships and, just our dealings with people around us in general. I think even as a country, especially, as an American, where we've gotten so divided, we're having an opportunity where we can mend that division. So we need to seize this opportunity. Otherwise, we get the tragic events that were set up in June and July, where that potential was set up. So some more homework there. Get more knowledge of yourself and the people around you, especially the people you don't like, because I guarantee you have things in common. And you do have things in common. You're all human. You have a soul. So reflect on that. And another thing with Venus too is that, Venus rules over peace and it rules over diplomacy. So the big bit of homework here too is ask yourself, how can I communicate more effectively so that I can get my point across and be understood and sort of de-escalate any tensions there might be. So then moving on here, we've got Neptune in Aquarius. So Aquarius is the opposite sign from Leo. They're on opposite sides of the zodiac. So we've got Neptune in Aquarius looking at these planets all in Leo. So Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, especially, like I said, in the second half of August. So Neptune, and this is especially true of Neptune and the Sun. So Neptune and the Sun will be looking at each other from these opposite signs. So this is what we call mutual aspect. So when you have Neptune in the Sun mutually aspecting, looking at each other, hidden things about leadership come out. So stories, there will be stories coming out about things about leaders that they were trying to hide from the people because they didn't want their images and their reputations destroyed in the eyes of the people. Well, we're getting into one of those times where they can't hide it anymore. So because, Neptune reveals things, it reveals things from the other world or from behind the scenes. And then, the Sun, like I said, is the planet of royalty and government and, rulers and leaders. So, this is another point of reference here. There'll be a lot more stories about leaders and politicians and, leaders of commerce and industry and finance and religion coming out of their misdeeds and their lack of integrity. So keep your eyes peeled and remember, nobody's religion and nobody's party, nobody's country will be spared by the universe. So then, another thing here is that Jupiter's going direct on August 11th. So Jupiter retrograde is that angry thunder god Jupiter. It's that Thor throwing hammers, Zeus throwing lightning bolts. So Jupiter's coming direct, so that's going to give us, less anger, more optimism, and just, a mindset of tolerance and acceptance. So, because Jupiter's a spiritual teacher of the cosmos, and spiritual teachers, good ones anyway, real ones, they encourage people to be more accepting of others, and find common ground with them. So then another thing too, right about when Jupiter goes direct, Uranus goes retrograde. So Uranus is called the Great Awakener. So, what we're going to see here is, we'll see an uptick in earthquakes because, the natural world reflects human consciousness, our individual and our collective consciousness. And human emotions are quaking and stirring and rumbling right now. All the anger that's been going on all through the summer. So, look for earthquakes, volcanism, all that kind of thing. And, and Mercury is coming out of retrograde actually July 31st. So communication, in addition to everything I've said about communication, with Venus, Mercury coming out of retrograde, communication will be less garbled, it'll be more clear. So look forward to that. And that'll help tone down a lot of anger and a lot of division. So that's something to look forward to. As far as the economy goes, things are changing behind the scenes. They're not going to be very apparent right now. It's going to take some time. It's going to take till the end of the year till we really see what's going on behind the scenes and, what we're really dealing with. So, the stories about, lack of integrity on the part of the leaders of finance will definitely come out, but look for it more towards the end of the year. But already, the facade is cracking. We're getting glimpses through. So, one thing that's going on, Deutsche Bank is going the way of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns back in 2008. Depositors and investors are fleeing from Deutsche Bank. And, there's really not much can be done. They were, as an institution, they were living beyond their means. And, they've already said they're going to fire 20% of their global workforce. So they're really, they're going to crash, and that's going to have repercussions. It's even come out Jeffrey Epstein was, he was a significant investor in Deutsche Bank. So look forward to more stories here. So, one thing, cryptocurrencies are trying to emerge. It's definitely a way of the future. If things keep going on their current trajectory, especially to get into the space age, we're going to need something like it. But it's definitely manipulated by the big banks, and I think it's been used to prop up the economy. It's the latest bubble, just like we had the housing bubble and the dot-com bubble before that. So, cryptocurrencies are the latest bubble. An example, Facebook has Libra, but if you trust Facebook enough, with all the shenanigans they've been up to. But, it's one example. You got Bitcoin, and there's others too competing. So they'll continue to rise, but they're not going to be the thing that fixes everything. And then too, oil prices will definitely go up. Especially, second half of August when you have Neptune and Mars in opposite houses. So Neptune in Aquarius, Mars in Leo. Some people say Neptune symbolizes oil. Some people say it's Saturn. It's both in some situations. Empirically, when Neptune and Mars are in opposite houses, you see oil prices go up. So, keep an eye on that. And so that's pretty much everything I have for you. Just to wrap all this up, when you have real knowledge of yourself and people around you and the world around you, especially self-knowledge, it's all important. Fear is no power. Fear dissolves. So wade into the fear. Don't push it away. Don't try to just banish it and, stuff it in a closet or in a little box. Wade into it and integrate it into yourself, and you'll be all the wiser, and it'll have no power over you. Read or watch A Wizard of Earthsea. All about that. It's one of the central themes by Ursula Le Guin. And, very ironically, most people have never been there, but I went there once. If you go to, the headquarters, CIA's headquarters in Langley, Virginia, on the wall in the main foyer, in the main lobby, they have a quote on the wall, and it says, the truth shall set you free. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek, because it's like, well, who's it going to set free? Because the truth may not be freely shared, especially with compartmentalization of information. But that's universally true. The truth shall set you free. It frees you from your fear. So reflect on all that. Reflect more deeply on yourself and on your own behavior. Because we all have things that we need to heal and resolve and fix, things we need to improve. Self-improvement is, it's the key to most everything, to improving most everything. Because when you improve yourself, you can have a better life. You attract better people to yourself in better situations and better circumstances. And so, ask yourself, are you living your life from a place of fear or a place of love? And again, I'm not talking about sappy, sticky, syrupy Hallmark, Valentine's Day love. I'm talking about recognizing that other people are human just like you. You have to love yourself first. So when I say love yourself, it's not about being egotistical. It's about knowing and appreciating your own value and your significance, and appreciating that you have something to contribute to the world, and appreciate that everyone else does too. So I'm going to leave it there. My website is thecosmicalchemist.com. I'll put that down in the comments section. You can book Vedic astrology readings with me, so you can see how current events affect you specifically. You can book rune readings with me, and I also have videos on sale for download. And these are Qigong videos. So Qigong is a mind-body practice. It helps you to tune into your subconscious mind, into your unconscious mind, and see what's going on below the surface. Because your subconscious and your unconscious rules all of your reactions to things, reactions to people and situations and circumstances. So you can't change your unconscious and your subconscious just by reading self-help books and going to courses. You have to engage in a mind-body practice where you learn how to feel your body's energy so you can get deeper in there. So, and the readings help with this too. The readings, the astrology and the rune readings are tools for getting in touch with your unconscious mind and with your subconscious mind. And they help you to basically rewire yourself so you can have a better life. So I also have coupon code right now. I've had a summer sale running. Coupon code is SUMMER. Get 25% off of anything. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.